All right, let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, a franchise steeped in history, often burdened by expectation and perpetually searching for that elusive championship formula. Every season brings new faces, new strategies, and new hopes, but sometimes the most compelling narratives are those that circle back to the past, to decisions made, and to paths not taken. So let me ask you this. Can you feel the persistent tug of regret, the gnawing, what if that lingers like a phantom pain from a past decision, whispering that perhaps, just perhaps, a piece of the puzzle was let go too soon? Remember the sting of that departure? The collective sigh of disappointment when Nazem Kadri, a fiery, skilled center who embodied the very grit and passion Toronto craved, was traded away? What if, against all odds, the universe offered a chance to rewrite history, to bring back a piece of the past that still feels undeniably vital to the present? This isn't just idle speculation. It's a deep dive into a scenario that, while fraught with complications and low probability, demands consideration. The Toronto Maple Leafs, in their relentless pursuit of a Stanley Cup, must, by all accounts, at least ask the question about Nazem Kadri. Let's cast our minds back. With all due respect to the unfortunate failure of Kyle Dubas to re-sign Zach Hyman, the decision to part ways with Nazem Kadri was arguably his most significant misstep, involving an already established, impactful player on the roster. Kadri wasn't just a player, he was a lightning rod, a fan favorite, a player who consistently elevated his game in the playoffs, albeit sometimes crossing the line. His departure left a void, not just in the lineup, but in the hearts of a significant portion of the fan base. And it's precisely because of that lingering sense of error that there's an overwhelming, almost desperate interest among a segment of the Toronto Maple Leafs faithful to correct that mistake. Even if Kadri is now 35 years old, carrying a $7 million AV contract that runs until he's 38, it's a testament to his impact and perhaps to the perceived shortcomings since his departure that fans are willing to overlook the practicalities for the emotional satisfaction of a reunion. It's also worth noting that the general manager who signed Kadri to that very contract in Calgary, Brad Treliving, is now at the helm in Toronto. At one point, Treliving clearly believed that deal was a good idea. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could be persuaded to think so again. However, the situation is far from straightforward. It's complicated by a web of bruised egos and lingering resentments. Kadri himself was reportedly hurt by the Leafs' decision to move him. And regardless of whether it was Dubas or Brendan Shanahan ultimately responsible for the separation, both are no longer in their previous roles within the organization, theoretically clearing the air of that specific layer of embarrassment. But the more palpable pain, the more immediate emotional hurdle, might be the division between the Calgary Flames and Brad Treliving. In theory, one would expect front offices to operate under the cold, hard philosophy of it's not personal, it's business. In practice, however, business often involves a significant amount of emotional, even spiteful decision-making. Unless the Flames genuinely feel they have an opportunity to fleece the Maple Leafs, a deal might not even be possible. But for the sake of this discussion, let's assume for a moment that the Flames and Treliving can indeed rise above their feelings and engage in a purely transactional negotiation. The first, and perhaps most fundamental, reason for the Leafs to even consider Kadri, before we delve into his specific attributes as a player, is the stark reality of limited options on the trade market. The Unicorn, that mythical 20-something player with incredible speed, a burgeoning offensive game, and the potential for a 100-point season, is simply not going to materialize on the trade block. And even if such a player did, the Leafs, who are currently without a first-round pick for the next few seasons, would not be in the strongest position to acquire him. Making concessions on speed, salary, and age will be crucial for Toronto, and in that context, they simply cannot afford to ignore Kadri. Now, let's talk about Kadri the player. There are a multitude of positives that make him an intriguing target. While Kadri may not be the fastest skater on the ice, he moves the puck with remarkable quickness. In today's NHL, where possession and rapid transitions are king, that ability to process the game and distribute the puck swiftly is a significant asset. and a great starting point for a team like Toronto that thrives on offensive flow. The fact that Kadri is a natural center is another immense advantage. This provides the Leafs with invaluable flexibility. It allows them to either deploy Kadri in his natural position or, crucially, to shift either Kadri or John Tavares to the wing, creating different looks and optimizing their top six forward combinations. This kind of positional versatility is a luxury, allowing a coach to adapt to matchups, injuries, or simply to spark a struggling line. Furthermore, Kadri's ability as a disc mover and carrier is another significant asset for the Leafs. While he may not possess the sublime, effortless puck-carrying artistry of a Mitch Marner, he can certainly be considered a Marner-light option and potentially the best available on the market. He's not William Nylander when it comes to carrying the puck through the neutral zone, but he moves the puck almost as effectively, ensuring that the Leafs' top 9 forwards aren't forced into a detrimental dump and chase mentality. His presence would help maintain possession, facilitate zone entries, and keep the offensive engine humming. Kadri also brings a much-needed dose of 60-foot responsibility to the forward group. While he's by no means a penalty killer or anywhere near the defensive acumen of a Marner, he plays with a certain awareness and commitment that can elevate the overall defensive effort of his line. But perhaps Kadri's greatest differentiator, and something that both Craig Berube and Brad Treliving are undoubtedly yearning for, is that elusive quality of polish, a refined edge, a competitive fire that manifests in a myriad of ways. Kadri plays with snarl, with an intensity that can be both a blessing and a curse. When he's not serving suspensions for that very snarl, he's often drawing opponents into penalties, creating power play opportunities that can swing the momentum of a game. If care is defined by the number of shoves a player delivers to opponents after the whistle, then Kadri cares quite a bit. He brings a physical element, a willingness to engage in the dirty areas, and a playoff-tested temperament that the Leafs have at times sorely lacked. Now, let's flip the script and consider why the Calgary Flames, despite any lingering animosity, might actually entertain a trade with the Maple Leafs. The short answer is simple. With a 13-team no-movement clause, the Leafs might genuinely be one of the best or even only viable options for trade. Things would be much simpler if Kadri still had a full no-movement clause, allowing him to dictate his destination. In that theoretical scenario, Toronto would likely be a top choice among a very limited pool. However, a 13-team no-trade list gives the Flames significantly more flexibility. It's easy to imagine 17 teams in the NHL looking to add a center of Kadri's caliber. But Darren Ferris, Kadri's agent, is notoriously shrewd. It's highly probable that he has tailored that list to include playoff-contending teams in the Eastern Conference, minus the few Kadri might specifically not want to play for, while strategically excluding rebuilding clubs that wouldn't offer Calgary the future assets they desire for Kadri, or Pacific Division teams that Calgary wouldn't want to improve. This strategic manipulation of the no-trade list could significantly narrow the field of teams both willing and able to make a deal with the Flames. The Flames also have a potential advantage in Brad Treliving himself. He might be one of the general managers who values Kadri the most. He is, after all, the GM who brought Kadri to Calgary and signed him to his current deal. It's entirely plausible that Treliving, knowing Kadri's capabilities and what he brings to a team, might be willing to pay the highest price to bring him back. This speculation, of course, should be a source of some concern for Leafs fans, as it implies a potentially inflated asking price. And while the Leafs may not possess first-round picks in the immediate future, they do have a collection of young players who could be attractive to a rebuilding or retooling Flame squad. Players like Bobby McMahon, Nick Robertson, and Kaye Jarnkrok could not only provide Calgary with usable assets, but also allow the Leafs to shed salary by sending them west. These are players who can either slot directly into the Flames lineup or be moved again for further assets. The Leafs also have the possibility of offering a goaltending prospect, which, now that Dustin Wolf has been promoted to the NHL, is a position of significant need within the Flames prospect pool. There could also be interest in players with NHL potential like Jacob Quillen or a high-upside target, such as Miroslav Holinka. And with the Flames already holding 2 first-round picks this year, They might be more amenable to waiting until 2028 for a Leafs first-round pick, especially since another first-rounder is likely to be part of any return for Rasmus Andersson. Despite all the compelling reasons for both sides to consider this, the viability of a Kadri to Leafs trade remains incredibly low. It's probable that these clubs, given their history and the Treliving Flames dynamic, are still not interested in doing business together. There's also a significant chance that the Leafs simply won't have a way to make Kadri's $7 million salary fit under the salary cap without moving out substantial money, which complicates any deal. Furthermore, it's entirely possible that one of the other 17 teams on Kadri's potential trade list has a more attractive first-round option or a package of prospects better suited to Calgary's specific needs. And perhaps, just perhaps, this entire discussion is simply the wistful longing of a Leafs fan, looking longingly at a Kadri jersey hanging in the back of the closet, hoping to wear it again. What seems certain, however, is that Nazem Kadri will be traded, and soon. The Flames have just 5 games remaining until Kadri hits the significant milestone of 1,000 career games. And according to reports, after that benchmark, he's gone. His 1,000th game is scheduled for November 5th against the Blue Jackets, assuming he stays healthy. While being traded the very next day would be, at the very least, bizarre, all signs point to a deal happening sometime in November. So, if it's not Kadri himself who ultimately returns to the blue and white, Brad Treliving must, at the very least, consider Nazem Kadri as the model for the ideal target the Leafs should be pursuing. Instead of waiting for someone who might be promoted to a frontline role, they need someone who comfortably fits into a top-line role. Someone who can move the puck with ease, and perhaps a player who comes with additional advantages such as a term contract, plays center, and possesses that crucial physical or gritty element in their game. There's a lot of hope riding on the Leafs' ability to identify and acquire such a player, and that's precisely why even the low-probability pursuit of Kadri makes so much sense. It's about recognizing what's missing and actively seeking to fill that void. What are your thoughts on this potential reunion? Is it a pipe dream fueled by nostalgia, or a necessary inquiry that the Leafs simply can't afford to ignore? Do you believe Kadri's return would truly solve some of the team's lingering issues, or would his age and contract be too much of a burden? We want to hear your passionate takes, your strategic insights, and your unfiltered opinions in the comments below. And if you're as captivated by the intricate chess match of the NHL's trade market as we are, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis and breaking news. Your engagement helps us bring you more of the content you love.